Have you ever had an experience where you go visit someone you know pretty well in their home? This could be a friend from school or a colleague from work, for example. There you meet the person's family, their parents, or their spouse. Everything is normal, until suddenly an argument breaks out between the family. You've known this person for a long time, and seen the person in various different scenarios in life, but you are just blown away by the animal that suddenly comes alive. You have never seen that person so emotionally upset about anything, and the argument could be about any simple trivial thing. There might not even be any build-up to the fight, it just goes from 0 to 100 before you even realize what's happening. This is the shadow working on your friend, without him even fully realizing it. If the same exact scenario happened anywhere else, with anyone else, you could be sure that the reaction would be completely different. And your friend, if he doesn't completely lack self-awareness, might think afterwards what on earth got to him. If you can recall such a memory, and realize this actually does happen, you can apply it to numerous situations, and see that other people are in fact affected by the shadow quite often. If this gives you a new perspective on things, don't be afraid of digging a little deeper on your perceptions of others. You might be shocked to realize how often other people are affected by their dark side. But remember, in spite of the negativity, most people want and try their best to do what is right and what is good. Everyone would choose to not get overly frustrated over little things if they could. The entity behind the excessive and unreasonable reactions is the archetype called the shadow. Every person has it, although most are unaware of it. Reflecting on your perceptions of others, you can probably realize the existence of the shadow from the excessive outbursts it causes. The hard part is to realize it in yourself. To some, this may be a bit of a shock, or seem completely absurd, but just like all the other people that are unaware of their own shadows, unfortunately, you are no exception. The shadow itself is only an archetype, only the messenger who infiltrates your conscious mind, but the message itself is from your personal unconscious. The personal unconscious contains that which is part of your whole personality but which you don't want to accept. The shadow only personifies this content in an insidious way, that is, with projections. Instead of the shadow going, "Hey, there's this thing you don't want to realize about yourself," it goes, "Here, let me show this repressed part of your personality, on Tony." And you go, "God, I hate Tony, he's just so irritating and I don't even know why, like, what is it with this guy?" The projection often happens on a person with qualities that can be associated with your own hidden weaknesses. For example, a person who is really smart may seem annoying because you judge yourself for not taking your own intellectual interests seriously. Or a person who is slow and clumsy in grocery store might irritate you because you actually don't want to realize that you are capable of being slow and clumsy too. You repress that part of your personality, and behave anything but slow, clumsy and dumb, yet that irritating quality will always be a part of you, you only project it ferociously instead of accepting it. Life isn't perfect, and no person is either. Accept and deal with it, or deny and suffer from it. The hard part about confronting your darkness is that the unpleasant process requires courage to take it seriously. This is the greatest challenge a man can face, and at the same time it can be so easily avoided by just continuing the projecting on others. If one can find the will and courage to commit to fighting the shadow, it will certainly be a shameful and confusing experience. This is because when you heroically arrive to fight the terrifying monster, it turns out to be the most pathetic little weasel you could imagine. You think, "What's so courageous about this? This is just awfully shameful, I don't want to even look at it." And if you want to defeat the so-called monster, you should throw your sword aside and actually adopt this poor little wimp which is saying that it's a part of you. You can't even believe that it's happening, you say, "How could this little lousy slob be a part of me? Look at how great I am, this can't be true." Then to assimilate the shadow to your conscious personality, you should take the tiny little thing home, feed it, wash it, nurture it, until it grows into something which doesn't give you nausea, and something which you can eventually forgive for existing. Finally, after tolerating this wretched thing for some time, you can possibly admit that it was, in fact, a part of you all along. There seems to be nothing heroic, nothing brave, nothing good at all, that could ever make anyone want to go through with such an unpleasant experience, yet it is the only way for a person to truly become oneself. The most difficult part is always the descent down to your personal unconscious. There you will meet your helplessness and incapability. The confrontation needs serious determination and is required to be done, over and over again. This is because your inferiorities don't feel at home either, they are bitter for all the treachery. To fight the shadow sounds so exciting, so heroic, and in the end, all you will find is something sad and small, something that is so weak that it turns monstrous only to stay alive. That is your hidden secret, that is the part you left behind, that is the shadow coming back for revenge. The whole thing feels all too shameful to even talk about, yet it is the only way an individual can be saved from oneself, just as it is the only way mankind can be saved from the danger it poses to itself. A person trying to realize their shadow must be very careful. It is not uncommon to feel like you are capable of seeing the darkness in you, and suddenly realizing it is not so bad after all. This is nothing but an illusion because the real shadow is something you naturally despise in the deepest way imaginable. It is also not uncommon for a person to be seduced by feelings of remorse and regret, and pride oneself on the capability of feeling them. This isn't much more than an illusion either, because then the person just drifts off with their emotions. A real confrontation with the shadow rewards the person with an increased consciousness, because with the conscious emergence of the negative personal qualities the positive qualities will accentuate too. Once a person has experienced what it is like to stand between the two opposites, one can begin to understand what is meant with the concept of the self. The realization of your personal shadow is a moral achievement beyond the ordinary, but it is also necessary in order to gain real self-knowledge. Adopting your shadow is not something which could ever make you feel proud, because the experience will in reality only feel shameful. You will trade your greedy fantasies for the reality and realize that you are nothing but a human, and so is everybody else. There is no godlike greatness, only reality, but reality can be really beautiful when you learn to value the little things, just like you have then learned to value the weak and little and stupid that is in you. Little things have the ability to grow when you give them time and attention. Valuation of the little will also change the way you value the big things. It will not be the same as your wild fantasies before, but rather something that feels actually real. You will learn to live according to a wise limitation, and that doesn't mean that you would live a life of impotence and boredom. On the contrary, your adventures, just as you yourself, now have the possibility of rising to true greatness since your inability doesn't limit you anymore. Your doubt will disappear because you know your limits, and your knowledge of the limits allows you to expand them. You will no longer feel the need to drown your sorrows, to run away from reality and to look for shortcuts to save you. All this is possible, of course, only if you manage to seek out and assimilate your shadow. For this journey there are no shortcuts. Only being truly honest to yourself can lead you forward. See it in others, see it in yourself, encounter it with honesty, and endure the humiliation of confessing it to yourself. Good luck on your journey. Visit the channel for more videos on the topic.